Hello, I'm Michelle and welcome to Somewhere in Bookland. Today I'm going to be doing the 25 bookish facts about me, and this should be interesting. It took me a while to come up with these 25 facts. It took me a while. So fact number one, according to my mom, I taught myself how to read by having her read books to me so much, the same book over and over, that I would then memorize the book and read it to her. Fact number two, when I was growing up, I used to get grounded from reading because my parents knew that it was the one thing that I would actually miss. They would make me go in to the front room and watch TV with them instead of be in my room reading like I wanted to. Fact number three, during this grounding, and I'm whispering this a little because my mom watches this sometimes, but during this grounding, I used to lie and say that I had to read for school for so many minutes a day. That way I could at least read for like 30 minutes. Number four, during summer vacation, I used to get in trouble when my parents would come home and my chores weren't done because I'd spent all day reading. Number five can also kind of tie into this, but I used to hide books in the bathroom so that when I would have to do my chores or when I was supposed to be in bed, I could use the restroom, and in reality I'd secretly be reading. Number six, I also used to sneak read in class, especially when the Harry Potter books would come out and I was in elementary school. I had a desk that was like open and you would just shove your stuff in, and so I'd be reading in my lap, and anytime the teacher came by I would shove the book into the desk open so they wouldn't know I was reading and not doing my work. It's actually why I started taking dust jackets off of books in the first place when I was reading, because I would do stuff like this while reading the book. I think this book came out when I was in 6th grade and I was reading in class when I wasn't supposed to, and I'd shove it into my desk and I would do this to the flap. Fact number seven, my 1st grade teacher once took me with her. I mean, she got my parents' permission and everything, but she took me with her to a teacher's conference so I could show off my reading ability to other teachers there. And all I remember from it is I was sitting on the floor next to the tables and just reading with teachers watching me. That's all I remember. It's very strange now that I think about it. Number eight, also, at that same elementary school, they had the library set up really weird. They had it separated between like the lower level books and the more hard upper level chapter books type books, and you weren't allowed to go look at or check out the upper level harder books if you were in like kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and maybe 3rd grade, I'm not quite sure, but you were only able to look at the lower level books, which I think is a very weird policy, but whatever, that's how my school was. And I had to get special permission from my teachers to go into the upper level books so that when we would go to the library for the class trip to the library, I could go into that section and look at those books instead of the lower level books. Again, strange policy. Fact number nine, when I used to go to the city library with my family, I used to max out the amount of books you could check out at once. I would check as many out as I could, and I would have to get one of those dollar bags that they sell like when you're checking out. I don't know if they still sell them, but I used to have to get one of those to carry them all in because I would check out as many books as possible and then go home and sprint through them as fast as I could. Fact number 10, whenever I'm reading a book, I try and guess. I can't help myself, but I try and guess what's gonna happen next. And sometimes I surprise myself with how spot on I am, and other times I am so far off, it's not even funny. Fact number 11, I'm really really bad about reading book series. Sometimes I will binge all of the books and then I get to the last one and I don't read it for years. Years. Fact number 12. The book I've read the most in my lifetime would have to be, unsurprisingly, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I mean, this book is literally taped together. You can't really see it much, but it's taped together. It's falling apart. Now, the reason, I don't know exactly how many times I've read this book, but the first time I read this book was in 3rd or 4th grade, I believe. And I think maybe the first 2 books were out when I read this one. And so anytime a new book would come out, I would read all of the books up to it. So like when the 3rd book came out, or when the 4th book came out, I'd read 1, 2, 3 in time for the new book to be released, which isn't surprising. I think a lot of people did that. And then I would do the same thing with the movies. When the first movie came out, I would read the book. I remember when the first movie came out, I was really disappointed. I remember walking out and being like, Voldemort was not how I pictured him. And I was in like elementary school. What do I know? But anytime a movie would come out, I'd read up to the movie. And then when all the books came out, sometimes I used to just reread them for fun. I mean, when the 7th book came out, I immediately reread the whole series after I finished the 7th book. And then sometimes I would read the whole series, finish the 7th book, and then start backwards and read 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't know why. Fact number 13. I am really bad at remembering to mark my books in as currently reading on Goodreads. And then when I finish the book and I go to mark it down that I read it, I have to try and remember what day I started it on. And sometimes that's not so easy. Fact number 14. I'm not the biggest fan of deckled edges. Growing up, they used to get on my nerves so much. Like, it just makes me uncomfortable how it doesn't match and it's all uneven. Now, they don't annoy me as much as I just don't like them. Fact number 15, I do, however, love stained edges. Kind of obsessed with them. I wish all books had stained edges. Fact number 16, I prefer to have my books organized by author's last name and then further broken down by publication date. If there's a series, I'll put it all together with the first book's publication date, so that they don't get separated. Sadly, however, while I do love my shelves, they're not very conducive to this type of organization, and it's been bugging me for so long because they're not organized at all. They're just put haphazardly wherever they go. And I just want them organized the way I want. The only thing that sucks about organizing that way is when you get a new book and you go to file it where it's supposed to go, you have to move all your books over. Because there's just not enough room on that shelf, so you put a new book on the shelf and every book moves up forward one. That's the only thing that sucks about that. Fact number 17. In 6th grade, my class voted me as most avid reader and best book report. The book I did my report on, I didn't even finish reading. So I kind of fibbed a bit. Fact number 18. I started writing a book in 6th grade, a murder mystery, because those were the books I was into at that time. I only ever got about 3 chapters into it, but I still remember the first line. It was a bright sunny day in Honolulu, Hawaii. Yeah, I was kind of obsessed with Hawaii at the time too. I also started writing another book in 6th grade about like a theft from a tomb in ancient Egypt, and I kind of just abruptly ended it and killed everyone off because I wanted to turn it in for a writing assignment. Fact number 19. I've actually started writing a lot of stories / books throughout my life, especially in my childhood, that I never finished. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. In 3rd grade, I started writing this book about these kids that were going trick-or-treating, and their parents let them go by themselves for the first time ever, and they started getting followed by what they thought was a real-life werewolf, and they started finding all these clues that pointed to the fact that there was a real-life werewolf following them. But it turned out just to be a kid dressed up in a werewolf costume. Yeah, that's a thing I wrote. I remember they were listening to NSYNC before going trick-or-treating. I don't even know if I have that story anymore, to be honest, because all the stories I had at that time on the house family computer were saved onto floppy disks, and so even if I could find the floppy disks, how would I get the stuff off of them? Number 20, I suck at taking notes while reading, and I really want to start annotating books, but I just suck at stopping while reading, because when I'm reading I don't want to stop. And this actually created a problem my senior year of high school, because we were supposed to take so many pages of notes on the books that we read that year, and it could be any book. And we were supposed to keep track of how many books we read. And I read the most books in my class that year and had the least amount of notes, so that's the thing I did too. Fact number 21, I tend to read multiple books at once. It's a real problem. I'm a serial book reader. Fact number 22, I love to read while I'm eating. Honestly, I feel like I've mastered it, kind of. The thing that really sucks is like when you're eating a piece of meat and you have to try and cut it, because then you like, should I lay the book down? What if the page doesn't stay open? Will it fly open? The easiest thing to eat while reading is soup. Super easy. Fact number 23, I love buying super fancy bookmarks, like metal ones and wood ones and ones that clip into the pages, and love it. But I tend to find myself using free promotional bookmarks more than anything, just because with the fancy ones, I'm afraid I'm gonna lose them. So the fancy ones, like this one, tend to be really thick, and that kind of bugs me, because when you're reading a book and you put it in, there's like this huge gap in the rest of the book. Like, look at that. Look at that gap. When you're using a promotional free little bookmark, no gap. No gap. Plus, when there's the gap, it tends to be able to fall out of the book. Like, look, this one not falling out. This one not falling out either, but the point is it could. And if it does, then not only do I lose my bookmark, but I lose my place in the book, which is worse. Fact number 24, I cry so easily while reading books, and it's not like a single tear either. It's like streams of tears, and I've done it in public. And finally, fact number 25, in high school, my friend used to tell me that when I'd get really into the book and I wasn't paying attention to anybody else, I guess I used to bite my lip while reading. Ever since I've gotten my lip piercings, that's kind of gone away. I don't bite my lip while reading anymore. Instead, I play with my piercings. But I do that all the time anyways, because that's a nervous tick of mine. So at least, you know, I don't bite my lip anymore, right? Yeah. Anyways, that is all the facts about me when it comes to reading. I don't know if they were the best facts, but they were facts. That is a true statement. Anyways, if you liked this video, go ahead and click the thumbs up sign. If you want to see more of this face on your feed, feel free to click subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!